Hello, hello, welcome. It's our ignited teachable moment for the week. I just love holiday music, so let me turn this off. All right, all right. Welcome. It is Rhonda here. Hello, beautiful soul. And welcome to our ignited teachable moment for the week. And we call them teachable moments because every week, while I am sipping one of my favorite teas, I spend some time with you. If you're here live, then we can have some chat about different topics that are geared around helping you get out of the middle, get out of the comfort zone, right? Get unstuck and really start to see the changes and the results you desire, deserve, and crave in your life. And let me sip tea. So this week, you guys, this is a Crasberry Peach, and it's caffeine free. And I don't need any more caffeine today. My second book, Women Leaders with Inspiring Stories, dropped today on Amazon. And if you're watching this live or today, December 4th, you can actually go out and get that Kindle version of the book for 99 cents. So I don't need any caffeine. I am already super excited and high on life today. So, this one's good. So, again, thank you for being here. If you are here watching, definitely pop into the chat. It is a live chat. I will be watching it and answering questions. And, hey, I see you there. Yes. Hey, Miss Cynthia. Congratulations. Thank you so much. I'm really excited. And, this topic we're going to discuss today is just so fitting for today and what's going on in my life. And, it's near the end of the year. And people are thinking about, what they've done this year, reflecting on, last year's accomplishments, well, this year, but all of this past year's accomplishments and what next year is going to look like. I think it's really important to, before you move forward, to take a look at where you are. And I say that in every live and every blog post. I have, for my coaching approach for clients, I have 4 steps. And the first one is acknowledge, and the second one is position. We're going to talk about the first one today. Spoiler alert. But the second one is position. And I believe that before you begin to think about what it is you want to accomplish, right, you have to understand where you are and why that did not happen before. So I know in the software world, what we would do is after we release new software, we would have something called a post-mortem. And in that, we would look at everything we did well, right? The goals we achieved, and we would celebrate, but then we would also look at things we didn't achieve and why. And that's not a bad thing. So we're going to talk more. I'm not going to spoil one of our points here. But I do want to tell you also, thanks. We have a couple people here live. Thank you so much for sharing space, time, and energy. I don't take it lightly. I know we're all busy, so I appreciate you being here live. And if you're watching the replay, thank you. So I did share a link to a worksheet. If you want to grab that and go and look in the chat. If you're having a problem seeing that in the chat, let me know. And I will reshare that again. Okay. I'm looking down at the chat to make sure it's there, and I do see it there. And I see Miss Cynthia is here with us, and we have another person here. Welcome, and thank you for joining. So let's jump right in. So today's topic is all about the 3 reasons why you are not achieving your goals and manifesting more of what you desire, deserve, and crave in your life. Now, let me just start by saying that in no way do I think I'm going to sum up your whole life in the next 26 minutes with 3 bullet points. Okay. That is absolutely not what's going on. There are so many reasons why in our journeys we feel stuck. We are not accomplishing goals, right? We have those roadblocks, we have hurdles, we have things that happen. Life is happening. We have one plan, God has another. Things happen, all kinds of things. So I'm not implying that, oh, you didn't achieve your goals because you just didn't do these 3 things. It's not that simple. What I do want to leave you today with is I want to leave you with some thoughts and ideas about things that you can control. things and patterns and habits where you may not even see those habits and patterns, but you are in them. And it's your way of thinking about goals and how you're approaching goals, that is the problem. And here's the thing about problems: they have solutions. And so, all is not lost here, right? What I want to do is give you things to think about. And I really could have did a list of like 20 things, but for this week we're looking at 3 things that keep people stuck and not manifesting the things they want to manifest in life. So we're going to jump right in. Hopefully you have that worksheet. At some point, print that out or save it, go back to it, look at it. It's an open worksheet for you to really add notes and have kind of self-assessment there. Okay. So let's jump right in, you guys. This is a good one. Hey, we have another person on. I'm so excited, you guys. Thank you for your time, space, and energy. Jumping right in. So, the number one, now this isn't the number one reason, but this is the first thing we're going to talk about today in terms of why you're not achieving your goals. The journey does not look or feel like the vision. Number one, and if you have the worksheet, these are on the worksheet, so you can pop that up to see what the next 2 points are going to be as well. Number one, the journey does not look like the vision. It doesn't feel like the vision, right? I want you to think, think back to if you're someone who's ever done a vision board. I'm looking at a couple here. I have another over here, and they all have Oprah on them. And when you're doing your visions, your vision boards, imagine like you're so excited and it feels so good, and you've got the pictures of the beautiful vacation spots, and the ring if you want him to put a ring on it, and the new job, and the book because you're going to write books, and you're going to be bold. Now I'm looking at mine. And you're going to feel good, absolute power. You're going to declutter, be courageous, born to write. Woo, vision accomplished. Yay. Second book out today. I'm going to be active. I'm going to power up. I'm going to be strong, right? All these things. It feels good to say them and to visualize these things in your head. But boy, let me tell you one thing. That journey who can relate? The journey to being bold, serving up success, jet, set, go, remove the grunge, right? It's not as sexy as the vision when you're thinking about it. And for so many people, right? We really do want those things, but we are not willing to make the sacrifices, be lonely, be broke, be sad, go through the dark period to get to the end where we achieve that goal. I mean, the most simple thing I can think of right now, for just one thing we can probably all relate to, is I'm going to say health and wellness goals and weight goals, right? I know for me, I'm on a weight loss journey. If you're following me on Instagram, then you know that, and you've seen the progress I've made in the past 4 months. But I don't just share that this is great and look, I lost 14 pounds. Let me tell you, it is a struggle some days. It is a struggle to go to the gym. It is a struggle to have a not so great day and then, move forward in purpose to the things you want to achieve. Thanksgiving and people's birthdays and holidays and your favorite treats sitting in the house, right? It's hard to sacrifice those things and give up temporary moments of instant gratification, to say, well, I'm on this journey of losing weight, right? So a lot of times we don't stick to our goals because we would rather have that thing now then work and keep working towards the vision. And so, there's a saying that says the dream is free, but the hustle is sold separately. And so we can all dream, but it comes down to if you are really committed to doing the work. And only you can answer that. I want you to think about that. If you want to put your answer in the chat, feel free to do that. Yes, Miss Cynthia, it is a struggle. And I want you to think about that. I want you to think about what it is you want to accomplish just in this moment. Like, what is something by the end of this year or next year, you're like, look, I really want this. I really wanted this year and it did not happen for me. I want you to think about what was it that what stood in the way? What did you say I'm not willing to sacrifice? If it was writing that book, what, and it didn't happen for you, like, why didn't that happen? And let me just say this, when I ask questions, it's not for you to beat yourself up. Like, that's not what this is. It's about you just taking a look at where you are as a person, right? It's very easy for us to look at our strengths. It's very for me easy for me to say, I'm a go-getter. I'm very organized. I'm a good public speaker. I'm not afraid to do certain things. But it's another thing to say, boy, do I procrastinate. Boy, do I hold grudges. You know, boy, am I keep a messy desk, or things like that. So these are all good things. This is not a bad thing when you're just reflecting, because again, point two in my coaching model is positioning. And you cannot be positioned for greatness if you don't know where you're starting from. What will only happen is that you will try to achieve that goal and make the very same mistakes, even if the process is different. So you might go to Weight Watchers, that's unsuccessful. Then you try keto, that's unsuccessful. Then you try the 13-day, 14-day challenge with the people from work, and that's unsuccessful. Not because those processes don't work, but because you haven't looked at the underlying issues, right, that you need to address within. This is a beautiful thing. It's growth, is what we're ultimately talking about, that will then help you move forward. Okay. So I want you to start thinking about, what it is you want and what things you do that keep you from moving through the uncomfortable parts, and they keep you stuck. Okay. Also, comfort feels good, right? Sometimes we like the comfort, and as soon as the journey gets a little difficult, it's kind of like, well, you know what? This comfortable spot isn't so bad. I still, handle my business and things are okay. That dream, that's extra anyway, right? So we start to convince ourselves that the vision is just extra and we really don't need it, okay? So, again, that comes to why you're trying to achieve this in the first place. And that's one of our points. I'm not going to talk about that yet. All these kind of go together. So what I'm struggling to do is keep them separate, while delivering, each point individually, because all of these points will come together and you'll see that. But what I also want to say about this point, the journey does not look like the vision. It really is important for us to learn how to yield not to temptation. Miss Cynthia, you may know this song, uh, Pastor Silas Thomas, yield not to temptation, for yielding is sin, right? So I think of that all the time when I'm about to do something that's totally counterproductive to my progress on any goal that I have. And I always think of that song, like yield not to temptation, right? And so, that is just a skill that we have to learn. And it's bigger than the goal, okay? So I think about my son. He's in AP government. He's in 10th grade. And AP government it's challenging in that it requires him to study and approach his schoolwork in a very different, mature way that he has not had to do in the past. And he come home, oh, I don't like the school. Like he doesn't like the whole school because of AP government. And he was struggling. So, working with mama here, we have gotten him to where on Friday he took his last quiz and he got a 100. And he studied. I'm teaching him how to study in a way that AP government students need to study, right? But it's an elevated level of studying. But here's the thing: it's not even about AP government, right? AP government is just the backdrop to a bigger lesson here. And the bigger lesson is that you have to learn how to overcome challenges, whether it's in AP government, whether it's in life, whether it's in sports, whether it's with family, wherever. So I like to think that when you have a goal and there's something standing in the way of that goal, and you're, you know, retreating back, right? Oh no, I don't want to do it. You know, you're not learning the lessons of resilience and bravery and courage and commitment and consistency required for you to then have that vision that you so desperately desire for yourself. So, I want you to think about the things that you tend to run away from, those challenges, because those are the very things that you have to master, that you have to get on top of, that you have to conquer and overcome in order to have next best level greatness in everything. not just this one goal. So see this challenge as a stepping stone to all you desire, not just this one little thing, but the exercise of being strong and resilient is going to pay off in every single area of your life. So, I know the journey doesn't feel like the vision, right? If it were easy, we all be, on easy street, living next to Oprah, 20 books, bestsellers. We'd have houses in Turks and Caicos, and in Brazil, we'd have all these great things. We'd be millionaires. We'd have the loves of our lives, but that's not how the story goes, right? That's not life. In life, to get what we want, we have to make the effort. We have to be connected and committed, even when it hurts, even when the pass through will have you broke, busted, disgusted, lonely, questioning yourself, frustrated, sad, guilty, feeling ashamed, like you're not worthy, self doubt, fear, all these things come on the journey. But you and your mission for what you desire, for what you've been called to do, has to be bigger and better than all of those things. Woo, baby. Yes. Yes. Really learning to play the piano well is my unfinished goal. Your first goal is commitment. I love that, Miss Cynthia. Thank you so much for that. Your first goal should really be to learn how to be committed to something. I think that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, because everything that you want to do is going to require you to master commitment first. When it's hard, when it's tough, when you're scared, afraid, when you get on that stage and it's like, oh my God, what's going on, right? Being able to work through that. And when I say master it, it doesn't mean that fear doesn't exist, that frustration doesn't exist, but that you can move through. It's the commitment and the faith that move you through those scary times, despite the frustration and the fear and the being scared. Good words, good words. Thank you so much for that. So let's move on to number 2, right? Number 2 is number 2. The goal itself doesn't drive you. You're disconnected from your higher purpose. And now it's time to start digging deeper. Now, this I really love, because when I work with clients, what I always find out is that there's something that you really want, and it's very important, from health to, I know for me, having high blood pressure. I'll talk about that in a moment. To needing to get, more income, to have, a better job, or whatever your goals are, to find love, to start a project, start a business, write a book, just have peace and happiness, right? But we will, again, disconnect from that, because the goal itself, the way it kind of plays in our mind, isn't connected to the higher purpose. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Okay. When I was pregnant with my son, Arnez, I developed preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure during pregnancy. After he was born, well, actually in labor and all, it was like a really stressful labor on my body because of this preeclampsia. So I had to be on all these extra machines and medications to make sure I was not going to stroke out. I was giving birth to my beautiful boy. After I gave birth, I have follow-ups with my doctors, and it's like, well, now you just have this high blood pressure issue. It's really bad. You need to take care of it. So, okay, all right, well, I look fine. I feel fine. My baby's healthy. Like, okay, then time goes on, and I'm saying years. And hey, you really need to think about this high blood pressure. Okay, I guess, all right. Because I wasn't feeling bad. I didn't have any symptoms of it. It's just something that I knew I needed to address. Then one day I was walking with my daughter out of her piano, not her piano. Miss Cynthia just said piano. I was walking out of her guitar lesson, and I felt something jolt in one of my eyes. And I thought something flew in my eye. It's crazy because it was a beautiful sunny day. And I'm like, what just happened? This sensation stayed in my eye for about 24 hours for me to ultimately find out that I had suffered from retinopathy, hypertension retinopathy, and that's where you lose some of your eyesight because the blood vessels in your eyes die because your blood pressure was too high and they could not keep up with the pressure, and eventually they go pew, and they're killed off forever. Okay, sometimes your eyesight can come back. Mine didn't. So I lost about 10% of my eyesight in the upper quadrant of my right eye. Okay. So that's when it got real. So prior to that, I knew I wanted to have healthy blood pressure. I mean, I didn't like going to the doctor being told something wasn't right. Um, but it didn't really connect with me. Years went by, it didn't connect with me. You know when it connected with me? When I was with my daughter and I thought to myself, what if that was a blood vessel in my arm, my heart, my leg? I could have stroked out in front of my child because I just insisted on not really working to my fullest potential to achieve this goal. I was working out, I was trying to eat a little bit better, but I was still disconnected from the higher purpose of the goal. When that happened, though, I had a higher purpose, and that purpose was to be healthy for my children. That purpose was to be an example for my daughter of what a healthy mom looks like, right? And then to show her that I could overcome this kind of self-induced, I mean, some of the high blood pressure was hereditary and then from labor, but then, me not working hard didn't help. So some of it was self-induced. And that became the higher purpose. And then I had another issue once I was on a blood pressure medication where I had this almost fatal complication with the blood pressure medication. And it caused edema, which is swelling of the throat and the lips. That was a whole nightmare. Miss Cynthia is very much aware of that. So it was just a whole mess. But out of these things came my higher purpose, and it was the goal then became bigger than me. So it wasn't even about the blood pressure. And it's funny because out of that higher purpose, now my purpose is to educate everybody, all women all over the world, about the importance of self-care, fitness, self-love, and taking care of yourself for the purpose of fulfilling your mission in excellence and wellness, right? So I want you to think about, so Miss Cynthia, you're here and you made a comment that you want to really learn how to play piano, right? So what is the goal, right? What is why is that important? I want you to peel back the layers of that onion, and I want you on your worksheet to think about why that's so important, because there's a reason you want to learn piano versus playing dominoes all day, or watching Young and the Restless. There's a reason why you're making these calls, and you want someone there, and you want to get back into the swing of your piano. There is something there. There is something more compelling than just wanting to sit at the keys and play songs for your kids, right? There's something. Yes, that was a rough patch for you. Yes, it was. It may be a lag here, just so you know, if I'm responding to things that seem like I'm responding late. It could just be a lag in the time that I'm doing this live and it's coming through to you, probably 30 seconds or so. But yes. So I want you to think about, what your goal is and what your higher purpose is and what you really want to accomplish, and what playing the piano as fluently as you would like means to you. And stay connected to that higher purpose, right? And sometimes life gets in the way and we disconnect a little bit, but the higher purpose is never disconnected. We may be disconnected from it, but it's always there. So I want you to begin to think about what that higher purpose is, and don't let that go. Don't take breaks from it. Even as life is happening, because life is happening, you should really be connected to that higher purpose, because it's that thing that while life is happening, it's going to keep you pushing forward to what you want to do. Okay. So on your activity sheet, let me see which activity I wanted you to do with this. So on your activity sheet for point number 2 on the last page of your activity sheet, I want you to just think about your stakeholders, right? Because I believe that all of us have goals that are ultimately bigger than us. And I want you to think about, your goal. If it's playing piano, if it's writing a book, if it's getting a new job, starting a family, having more peace, being slower to anger, finding happiness, doing more of what you love. I want you to think about why you want that. So for point 2, write your goal and then write why that's important. And if there are any stakeholders in your life that will be directly influenced by your decisions, positively or negatively, I want you to write that down. And I also want you to think about what happens when you don't stay connected to that higher purpose, right? So, and then, why you really should stay connected to that higher purpose. So, just, this again is an exercise for you, a self awareness, self reflection exercise, so that as you go to move into next year, you are very clear about what it is you really, really want. And here's what I mean. Let me just give one last example about this. I think I've made my point, but I want to say this. If I am going to my 25-year high school reunion, and let's say I decide I'm going to lose 10 pounds. When I go to that reunion, I'm going to look good. They're going to see me come through the door and be like, what? Look at Rhonda. 9 times out of 10, I probably won't lose that 10 pounds. You know why? Because I'm really not connected to anything with regard to that goal other than some superficial, I want to look good for people that I probably didn't like in high school. There's no higher purpose to that. There's nothing there that serves me, my family, the world, the people who I'm trying to impress. There's nothing there. And because there's nothing there, I'm more likely to drop that goal and whatever than I am to hold on to it, right? And make sure I can get that done. So if you struggle to find the higher purpose to your goal, that could be the reason why you struggle so hard to achieve it. So, again, do this exercise so that you can have these thoughts and think about these things so that when you move forward into your new season of goal setting and achieving goals, you understand the disconnects and what needs to happen in order for you to stay connected and committed to your goals. Okay, let's check the chat for questions. All right. And then our last point here, number 3. We're making good time, you guys. Normally, we go over. I'm going to try not to. 30 minutes is my goal. It should be like 32 because these are always about 32 minutes. Let's see here. Okay, so our final point. Your limits and fears are disguised as excuses. Yikes. Your limits and fears are disguised as excuses. Listen, and excuses just sounds like such a disrespectful word. But we have convinced ourselves in many ways that the reason we can't do certain things is because we don't have the time, we don't have the resource. They have this other thing, and they meaning the people who are doing it, they have this other thing that I don't have, and because they have it, that's why it's easier for them. Excuse me. So we don't want the tea to get cold. So another example, working with a woman who is very high up in her very well-known organization. She's a tech woman, and she is like director of behavioral intelligence or like something super fancy dancy in the tech world. And what she really wants to do is venture out on her own. She's brilliant. She wants to venture out on her own and become a consultant, right? Because she doesn't want to just be confined to this one organization. Wants to, enjoy the creativity and the different ways of kind of working in her gift that she could have if she were in different organizations doing different things. So we're talking about her entrepreneurial visions and things she wants. And at some point she says, well, you could go out and venture out on your own because you have a husband. And if you don't make any money, he can pay the bills. Right. Now, I didn't take offense to that, right? I've been doing this long enough, right? It wasn't directed at me per se. It was ultimately her fears of what if I don't make any money? I don't have anything to fall back on. That's ultimately what that was. The problem with us looking at other people and making excuses for why other people have what we have and we don't is that we don't know their journey. Because the truth of the matter is, when I met my husband, he was broke, and so was I. We was two brokies, okay? B broke together, B squared, broke times broke. That was us. And together, we built a life together. And this woman, this isn't how she would want to build. And my point of that is not to get into the whole how do you, look for your mate so that, you can build and grow with someone. But it's more so that my journey was just different. It's not that, oh, now I have somebody to pay bills. Like, I don't have a money tree in my backyard. I don't think I can buy one at Home Depot. So it had, that objection doesn't have anything to do with me. And what other people are doing doesn't have anything to do with you and your goals. We all have a struggle that we have to overcome. We all have hurdles that we have to jump, mountains we have to climb, valleys we got to get out of, right? Um, and they all look different for each of us. So looking at other people and then saying, well, that's why they have it and I don't, is such the wrong thing to do. Really, what you're doing is masking your fears behind someone else's success, right? And then that's never good for you, because comparing why someone else has what you don't is never an empowering thing. It's never going to make you want to strive for what you want to have. But we will convince ourselves that, we don't have time or we don't have resources. And I always challenge my clients. I have never had a client that didn't find the time after we talked for 35, 40 minutes. Not even like a full, session of 3 to 6 months. I'm talking 45 to 30 to 45 minutes. I can convince you and show you where you have time. This particular woman who I was talking about earlier, the brilliant woman who's the tech brilliant lady, she also said that she didn't have time to devote to trying to be an entrepreneur. I said, it's interesting because you're on a board and you show up at board meetings and you do things for the board. Well, I have a team. Yeah, but you show up for the board. So the time that you're showing up for the board, you could be devoting to your dreams, right? So now it's not that you don't have time, it's what your priorities are and what you're willing to sacrifice, which takes me back to point number 1, where I talked about us not really wanting to sacrifice certain things for the vision, right? We want the vision if we can have all these other things. But listen, everything you're doing right now can't go. You can't be at 5 different meetings on 2 different boards, volunteering here, working here, helping this person, doing this, and doing that, and still try to create a space in all of that for you. You have to decide what's important, what's a non-negotiable, what is an absolute, and what things can go. And that may mean that you can't sit and talk on the phone for hours every day with your friend like you used to. You can't go out every Friday night with your girlfriends like you used to. There are sometimes, and for me, I remember when I was writing my book, not the one that came out today, but my book, A Life Ignited, Ignite Your Inner Fuse. I had to do better with time management. So what I decided was, instead of dropping my daughter off at her gymnastics or dance lessons and talking to the other moms, or, taking that time to shop, that once a week I would devote that time to writing. Right. So I'm not talking even about giving up a bunch of things, but making space in your life based on your new priorities for where you want to be, based on the vision where you're trying to go. Does that make sense to you? Okay. You can't do what you've been doing and expect to get where you're going, right? You can't take a lot of the old stuff to the new place. So let's see what we have here in the comments. Excuses explain why we're not really committed. Yes, excuses explain why we're really not committed. Miss Cynthia, you want to come up here? You trying to take my job? You trying to take my job? Yes, excuses explain why we're really not committed. Excuses are fears and limits disguised as excuses, right? So for your activity on your worksheet here, I want you to think about the things you have convinced yourself that are keeping you stuck. I don't have time. I don't have money. They get on my nerves. Oh, they suck. He sucks. He won't help me with the kids. I've had clients who have children, and it's always the struggle of the husband or the partner. And how do you get them to participate so that you have time freed up to take a nap, read, go to the gym, get some fresh air, walk the dog, whatever it is that you need for peace, happiness, and contentment and fulfillment in your life. And, we work through that. Your goals are not anybody else's priority, number 1, and they're not anybody else's responsibility. So you have to create the boundaries and make the space. And I guarantee if I talk to you for 45 minutes, we would do that. Because sometimes you don't even see where there's space because you're in the pattern and you've just been doing this for so long. You don't even understand that all it is taking this and moving it over here. Look at all that space that freed up. And I'm serious about this. Sometimes it's just moving one thing that isn't disruptive to your mate, to the family, to anybody. Just simply making space so that you can do the things you need to do to be where you want to be, feel how you want to feel, and have what you want to have. Okay, so hopefully this was good for you. We're at 35 minutes. I told you I try to keep it 30, but we'll see. Okay, it's just some good stuff that comes out of these ignited teachable moments. So let's do a quick recap here. Reason number one: the journey does not look like the vision. It's not going to. You have to be resilient and you have to hold on to what you desire to have. And as you're going through that storm and all these things are coming your way, you're holding on to that rope and you're committed, and you're going to have to bob and weave sometimes and you're going to get hit. Sometimes you're going to bob and weave and still get hit. Pop right upside the head. Oh, this hurts. You might have to stop for a minute, take a breath, but you still hold on. You don't give up. You keep moving and moving and pulling and doing what you need to do, going through those storms, those trials, those tribulations, and those tests to get to where you want to go. Because guess what? Those tests and those trials and those tribulations are preparing you for the greatness and the power and the abundance and the excellence that awaits you when you achieve your next best level and see the results you want to have and achieve those goals. Number two, the goal itself doesn't drive you. You're disconnected from the higher purpose. So on your activity sheet, dig deep. Why do you want to achieve this goal? If you can't understand the bigger purpose on your life or for the purpose of the lives of those around you, then the reason you continue to disconnect, give up on it, come back, drop it, pick it up, drop it, pick it up, is because you are not committed and connected fully to the higher purpose and the calling over your life. And last but not least, your limits and fears are disguised as excuses. Stop it. Stop looking at everybody and saying, oh, because this. I've had people tell me, oh, if I didn't have to work every day, I would lose weight. That's not true. Okay. We're all different sizes, all shapes, all body types, whether we work all day, don't anything. That is irrelevant. It's who you are as a person. What are you willing to do to be where you want to be? And if you really want it is the question. Maybe you're not where you want to be because you're okay in the comfort zone. You're okay in the gray area. You're okay straddling the fence. But then that takes us back to number two. Who are your stakeholders and what's really happening? And what is the potential for disaster that happens in your life, mind, body, and spirit when you are not connected and committed, but you'd rather rely on your limits and fears disguised as excuses and just, sit back and then blame everybody else and say, well, that's why they have it and I don't. Okay, so I want you to dig deep about that. And as you begin to kind of put together a plan for 2019 or whatever year you may be watching this, I want you to think about these things before you plan for your next best level. Because here's the thing. Again, my 4 steps for coaching is acknowledgement, right? You need to acknowledge where you are and who you are, and then you need to get positioned. You can't plan for where you're going if you don't know where you're starting. Even when you take a vacation, you know what airport you're going to fly out of or what train station or where the car is going to leave from. You have to always have a starting point. You need to be very clear about that starting point before you try to plan. If you don't have a starting point, how can you get to where you're going? And how can you know how to get there? Okay? And then you have to have purpose and then you will pursue. And those are 2 other points we'll talk about at another time. So you have your activity sheet. You've gotten some golden nuggets here. Let's see here. Don't let people distract you. Oh, okay. We'll end on that. Don't let people distract you. Okay? Focus, 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 right? You know what you are trying to do. And here's the thing about it. Just because you woke up with a plan and a vision and a purpose doesn't mean that your best friend did. It doesn't mean that your sister, your auntie, your cousin, your husband, your wife, your mom, your dad, your neighbors, and none of that. That doesn't, and guess what? They didn't get the memo that you woke up with purpose. Right? So if you know you should be studying, but your friends want to talk on the phone, or you should be writing your book and your friends want to chit chat, I can't do that today. right? If your friends want to eat out at places that you know are counterproductive to all the work you've done all week on your diet and your health and your wellness, guess what? I can't roll with y'all today, but let me tell you what a real friend will do. A real friend will say, well, where can you roll? And we'll roll there. Oh, you need to go to Salad Works? Oh, you want to go to Chick-fil-A? Oh, you want to go to Ruby Tuesdays? You want to go to R2L? Wherever, right? They will support you. If people are not supporting you, praying for you, loving on you, empowering you, encouraging you, then guess what? They are a distraction and you have to prioritize them. Back to number one, right? The hustle is sold separately from the dream. And as you are hustling, you have to figure out who should be there and who deserves so much time and then this much time. Okay. So thank you for that, Miss Cynthia. So this has been a wonderful, wonderful Ignited Tea. Thank you for your time. Again, I appreciate you. I honor you. And I thank you so much for being here with me today. Until next week, be motivated, be inspired, continue to be a life ignited.